through our provincial affiliate, KZN, we have been informed that it's quite a nightmare. We have also been informed by the Cane Growers Association that farmers have experienced huge losses in the region of almost 200 million rand, and those reports were submitted to government. But KZN is quite concerned about the logistical nightmare because roads were washed away, rail tracks were washed away, and then we had quite an issue at the harbour as well. But luckily, the harbour is now in full operation again, but the other logistical challenges and infrastructure challenges remain a problem.
Okay, let's keep the infrastructure aside at first, and let's go directly to the produce that's been affected by these floods. What are the problems that we can see there?
I think some of the problems relates to the sugarcane industry, where some of the crops were washed away due to the floods. Remember, there were also mudslides that have destroyed parts of the cane crops. Also, due to the amount of water that has been received, some of those areas are completely waterlogged. And then the other big problem obviously relates to diseases that might arise because there's those young saplings are sort of waterlogged. So yeah, that's the kind of challenges that they currently face. But remember, South African farmers are very resilient. I think they will recover very quickly. And many of them have insurance, but my big worry remains the small-scale farmers who do not have insurance and who might have lost everything.
What sectors will be affected and in which way?
So far, we have just received a report from the cane growers, but we've also received reports from citrus growers that they are struggling to get their citrus moved, through the ports as a result of some of the roads that were impacted. And then also there's a bit of a backlog which they must work away. But we meet weekly with Transnet because remember, it's not only agriculture that has been affected by the problems at the harbour as a result of the roads and the rail infrastructure, it's also other industries. But so far, not major losses in terms of other agricultural produce. It's mainly sugar at this point.
And in which way will this affect what we see in the shops at the end when it comes from the farmer to the shelves?
Not much. I think we've had very good seasons thus far. Summer grains, winter grains, also very good fruit and vegetable seasons. But the flooding has caused problems, in various sectors. You will recall the tomato industry had quite a challenge last year with the flooding, but we then had many other provinces that came to the table, and those farmers were able to produce at higher levels. So that's the fortunate thing that in South Africa, due to the very strong commercial farming sector that we have, is that where there's a shortage, where those farmers are unable to produce, you'll immediately have a response from other farmers who will see the opportunity in the market and that will start to produce those particular products.
Christo, livestock, how have that been affected?
Not much at this point in time. We haven't heard of major losses. The big challenge that we have is with foot and mouth disease outbreaks in KZN, but that has little to do with flooding. It has more to do with the fact that those outbreaks, have not been monitored properly by government, and that the actions that must be put in place to ensure that those animals are not moved from one area to the other where it can spread the disease. Those actions were not really taken care of by government. But I've just received a notice now from government and from the Minister of Agriculture that she's working closely with the National Animal Health Forum and other institutions to curb the further spread of foot and mouth disease.
Financially, the farmers themselves.
I think with the sugarcane farmers, I've seen a figure of 222 million rand in terms of losses. The estimate infrastructure damage sits at 27 million rand. The estimated field damage sits at 194 million rand. So there you can hear that they've got quite a loss in terms of sugar cane. And then total hectares lost 2,516 hectares. So the total damage, that's now inclusive of infrastructure damage as well as estimated field damage, sits in the region of 222 million rand.
So if I hear you correctly, a setback certainly, but not a breaking one.
No. I think the sugar industry, their contribution towards the GDP, and yeah, I just referred to agricultural GDP, is huge. They're also some of the biggest levy payers, for example. And it's a very, very resilient and a very advanced sector. So yes, whilst the damage was in the southern part of KZN and to the central parts, I think the northern parts of KZN where huge amounts of sugar is being produced, and those areas were not that affected.
Christo van der Rede, Executive Director of Agri SA, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure, Lisa.